All right, guys, welcome into my official line movement video here every Friday where we discuss how the overall betting lines have moved. Is there any value on any of these teams? I don't know if it's just because there's only 2 weeks left of the regular season, but these lines are just going crazy. I mean, they're moving all over the place, so we're going to talk about it. Also, I'm sure the weather is having an impact. This South Florida Tulsa one, it's come down a little bit. I think the over-under was 58. It's down to 57.5. I love the under due to the weather, especially a team like South Florida playing in 26-degree weather. I like the under in that situation. San Diego State, New Mexico, this line is plummeted. It was at 39.5, and it's down to 36. That doesn't surprise me. The Saturday games, it's Navy and UCF. That's an 11 a.m. start. Sitting at 53, it's stayed there mostly, and Navy has really gotten some money onto them. That doesn't surprise me either, considering Navy has really had a decent showing the past 2 weeks against Cincinnati and against Notre Dame. They're a run-first team. I like the under because it's an 11 a.m. start time. UConn and Army, the over-under at 43.5, that's kind of stagnant, and Army's been a 10-point favorite all week. Duke and Pittsburgh, so that line is down to 7. It was 7.5. I liked Duke plus the 7.5. The over-under sitting at 49.5. I'd probably say the under in that. It's going to be another cold weather game. Pittsburgh really has problems throwing the ball. Florida and Vanderbilt. Florida's been minus 14 for a while. I love the under in that as well. Just seems like Florida going to Vanderbilt, cold weather game. There's not going to be a lot of motivation. Vanderbilt, on the other hand, it seems like they're getting momentum. They finally got an SEC win, but who knows? Florida's been really inconsistent. I did not expect Florida to blow out South Carolina like they did. But then again, South Carolina is also very inconsistent. Illinois, Michigan, this line is plummeted. Actually, I think it's back up now a little bit. It was at 44 to open. It went down to 40. Now it's back up to 41.5. Yeah, the expectation here is Michigan just wants to win and get out. Indiana and Michigan State, that over-under at 47.5. There's value on the over, and MSU has been minus 10 basically the entire week. A&M at minus 33.5. I don't think that line's moved versus UMass. I would not bet that game either way. UMass is horrible. A&M has just no motivation. Over-under at 47.5. Northwestern and Purdue minus 18.5. The over-under down to 44.5. That line has moved considerably lower. I think it opened at 48. I told people to take the under, and it's just plummeted to 44.5. It's due to the weather. It's due to an 11 a.m. start, and it's due to a horrible Northwestern offense and a Purdue team that really just has zero playmakers currently. Baylor, TCU, I love the over in this game at 57. TCU minus 2.5. I think they kind of fluctuated between 2.5 and 3. They're back down to minus 2.5. Louisiana and Florida State. So Florida State 24-point favorites, the over-under remaining right around 52. There's a Florida State tax going on right now by Vegas because they've been winning recently. Any analytical model will tell you there's value on Louisiana plus 24. But again, this is based off of Florida State and their stretch they've had where they've been really good. They've been covering every spread. Next, we have Virginia Tech, Liberty. Liberty's been minus 10 this entire week. Nebraska, Northwestern. This is another one, Wisconsin, Nebraska. This is another one where the over-under has gone down. It was at 41. That's when I saw it on Monday. It's been stuck at 39.5 for a while. This is an 11 a.m. Central start time. It's going to be colder there in Nebraska, and you're talking about a Wisconsin team that can't throw, combined with a Nebraska team that has some quarterback injuries. UTSA and Rice, there's possible rain in this game. The over-under was 60. It's down to 57. A lot of people were finding value on the under in this game just in general, even without the rain. Georgia State, James Madison minus 9. Over-under at 52. That's a pretty traditional line. Houston and East Carolina. I like Houston plus the 6 in this game. The over-under is 67.5. I would take the over. I think this is one of those typical college football shootouts in the American. Kansas State and West Virginia, I love the under 54.5 due to the weather. It's going to be 30 degrees. Just colder game. Seems like it fits Kansas State's style of football more. Washington State and Arizona. Washington State, I think there's good value on Washington State minus the 4 here. Over under at 63. I would take the over. I think Washington State can drop a 50 burger in this game. Their offense can be very good, especially against a really bad Arizona defense. Oregon State, Arizona State. Oregon State sitting minus 8. They were minus 7.5, over-under at 53.5. Boston College, Notre Dame. This is an over-under that's dropped considerably. I think it was 46. It's down to 43. We like, it's going to be a cold weather game. There's going to be snow. It's not going to be crazy. I think just flurries. But I do like Boston College and the under in that one. Boston College to cover, not to win. Old Dominion and App State. I think App State's been minus 16 the entire week. FAU and Middle Tennessee State. FAU 6-point favorites. The over-under 51.5. Georgia and Kentucky. So this is another one. I think it's dropped a little bit due to the cold weather in Lexington. Georgia's still sitting kind of a weird line. Minus 22.5 in that one. Louisiana Tech and Charlotte. Louisiana Tech minus the 2.5. And the over-under sitting at 64.5. That's one of those games, 2.5-point underdogs for the home team. You like the value in Charlotte, but Charlotte has been really inconsistent this year. It's very hard to bet on them with confidence. Miami of Ohio, 19-point underdogs. I love Miami's value. Miami of Florida. I don't even know why it says Miami of Florida, but we know it's, the 19-point underdogs. I like the value personally, and the over-under, it was at 46. That was too low. People have betted up to 48. NC State and Louisville. NC State opened as 5-point underdogs. They're down to 4. I like the value on NC State here. In that one, the Ohio State-Maryland game, I would say the under 63 is where the value is. It seems like Ohio State's going to want to get up early and then just run the clock out. They've got running back injury issues. There is not a motivation for Ohio State to really run up the score here. They just want to win by a good margin and get out healthy. Penn State and Rutgers. Penn State's been sitting minus 19 for a while. I think the over-under in this game dropped a little bit. I think it was 47. South Alabama and Southern Miss. South Alabama minus 7.5. I'm not sure where that was, honestly. Texas and Kansas. Texas has been minus 9 the entire week. The over-under's been fluctuating around 63 or 64. It'll be interesting to track this game considering the weather. 32 degrees for those two teams. Cold weather game. UMass and Troy. So the over-under, I'm surprised people are betting the over in a Troy game. I looked it up, and UL Monroe, did I say UMass? I meant UL Monroe. UL Monroe has a really bad defense, so I guess it is understandable why people are betting the over. They find value, when it's in the 40s and you've got a bad UL Monroe defense. I still like the under. Troy plays really low-scoring games, especially when they're at home. Cincinnati and Temple, the over-under at 51. So we're finding great value on the under in this game. We think Temple is going to revert back, and Cincinnati's really not a high-powered offense. Also, it's important to note, this game is taking place, at the Philadelphia Eagles Stadium. You have to take that into account when you're thinking about this because there's going to be no atmosphere. When there's no atmosphere, it's really not conducive to a lot of offensive points. That's when you normally get lower scoring games. Florida International and UTEP. I like UTEP to cover. I just think FIU is so bad, and the over-under is 51 on that. Iowa and Minnesota, so they've got the over-under reported at 32 even. It's been stuck at 32.5. It's down to 32 exactly. I still like the under in this. I know it sounds pretty crazy. Vegas is begging you to take the over. When you look at this game and the situation surrounding it, the game will be played in 11-degree weather. The wind chills will be possibly in the negatives, and you're talking about, two good defenses combined with obviously two bad offenses. That's going to create an over-under at around 32. And I would say, we possibly get like a 17-14 type game. I mean, you're still hitting the under. You could see something like a, even like 13-7. It's going to be low scoring, but it's razor thin there. We cannot have a defensive touchdown. That will ruin that under. If there is defensive scores, you need field goals You need a lot of punts, which what we're expecting, and we will see what happens there. Western Kentucky and Auburn. Pretty good weather for this game. I like the over. I like the over 52.5. Western Kentucky is getting some money onto them. They're plus 5.5. I think they opened plus 6. Arkansas State and Texas State, I would say the under 50.5. There's torrential rains expected in this game. Georgia Tech and North Carolina. North Carolina trending here a little bit. They were minus 20. They're down to 21.5. Over under at 63. I think the under is good value there because Georgia Tech can't score, but I'm not confident in it. Stanford and California. Cal is minus 4.5. The over under at 46.5. I like the value in the over in that game. Marshall, Georgia Southern. I like Georgia Southern possibly to win this game outright. They're 4.5 point underdogs. I like their offense. Boise State and Wyoming. This over under is down. Actually, I think it's up a point. But this game, very cold, 21 degrees, and I would say take the under. Tennessee and South Carolina, it seems like this game's being bet up a little bit. I think that's mainly due to what we've seen from Tennessee's offense. And, they've wanted to run up the score a little bit to try and score points with the committee. That over-under, I believe, opened at 63.5. It's up to 66. Texas Tech and Iowa State, the under is an amazing play. The under 47.5. I cannot believe people are not betting this over-under down. Texas Tech's going to be playing in 20-degree weather at night. That is a rough ask against the good Iowa State defense. Ole Miss and Arkansas over-under at 65. I would take the under. That game is getting bet up significantly. I think it was at 61. The main issue here with Arkansas, they're playing a cold weather game again. We saw them last week against LSU. They shriveled up. It was 13-10. I know it was with their backup quarterback. We will see. New Mexico State, Missouri. There's pretty good value apparently on New Mexico State plus the 29 and the under 46.5, although that line has come down. It was at 48. Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. Oklahoma State was plus 7.5. They're down to plus 7. The over-under is getting shot up to 66 because normally in that rivalry game, it's a higher scoring game. I can understand why, but I still think there's value on the under because both of those offenses haven't shown a ton, in my opinion. Syracuse and Wake Forest. I love Wake Forest minus the 10. They've been stuck there all week. USC, UCLA. So USC back to 2.5 point favorites. They were 2.5 point favorites. It went down to 1. Now it's back up to 2.5. The over-under has ballooned to 77. Colorado State and Air Force minus 21.5. Over-under just 42.5. That's another cold weather game. Colorado and Washington. You've got a 31-point favorite there for Washington. I think it's been there Actually, I think they were minus 30.5. So it's moved slightly. And an over-under at 62.5. I would actually take the over in that game because Colorado can throw the ball a little bit. I think they could score maybe 17 points. And then just looking at the later games, you've got to find them in here. UAB, LSU, I love the over. I think LSU's offense is due for a good performance. The over-under opened at 52.5. The public was in on the under. It's been bet down. I still like the over. And there's been some price action on LSU. They're minus 15 now. San Jose State, Utah State. Unfortunately, there's got to be an injury in this game for this line to move this much. I was in on San Jose State minus 2.5. It was good value, but apparently there's some sort of injury. I'm guessing. If there's not, there's just no way a line moves that much with a team like Utah State, so we will see. And then Fresno State, Nevada. Fresno State minus 22.5, over-under at 54. That hasn't moved, I don't think. And then Utah, Oregon is a 2.5 point spread for Utah. Of course, Oregon opened this game minus 3. And then we've got the Bo Nix injury concern. So now Utah has completely flipped, and they're 2.5 point favorites. UNLV Hawaii. UNLV's been minus 11. And the over-under at 55.5. It's been stuck there all week. I would say, according to the models, there's value on the under in that game. So, guys, that is the official line update here for college football week number 12. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.